Former Saint Scott Shanle, good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. Scott, always appreciate it, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Hey, man, what is, maybe an obvious question, but what's a day like today in an NFL locker room like cutdown day?
Yeah, it's a little odd. I think there's a lot of young guys who are still kind of naive to the business, and you go through all off season, you go through training camp. There's 90 guys at camp to start off with, and then you have a few guys cut, and you don't really feel the business side of the game until right now, when that locker room gets cut drastically in half, and people you got to know over the past 5 or 6 months are no longer there, and you're moving on with those 53, and whoever those 53 guys are. There'll still be some shuffling. You know, if you're at the bottom of the roster, the last 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, nobody's really safe. But I think this is the first time where guys are like, okay, this is the business side of the game and how cutthroat it is.
Is there any day in particular that you remember a story of someone getting cut or something like that really comes to mind when you think about it?
Not in particular. I think every year, you know, as a veteran guy, you kind of look around and you kind of know. I think for the most part, the longer you play, the more you have a feeling of who's going to be on that 53-man roster. There's always a couple surprises here or there. Guys you're happy for, undrafted free agents, late-round picks who end up taking advantage of their opportunities. But nothing in particular that comes to mind as far as a specific story or anything.
Scott, the big news today outside of all the roster shuffling is that Kellen Moore did announce Spencer Rattler the starter. Reaction?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised one bit. Anybody who watched the 3 preseason games, obviously, you would have to be at every practice to probably be surprised by this. Maybe Tyler was playing better than him at every practice. But when it comes to the games, I don't know if a rookie did enough to supplant a guy who has 5 or 6 games of experience. And I think that's really what it comes down to is, are you going to throw Tyler to the Wolves week 1, NFL speed, when he really didn't show that he's ready for it? I'm not saying Spencer. I think Spencer was kind of disappointing in the preseason, to be honest. I thought he had so many reps last year that a lot of fifth-round picks don't get, that I thought he would be a little further ahead, to be honest. But I think this is kind of the safe pick. You protect Tyler a little bit. But Spencer, he's got an opportunity to keep the rookie on the shelf. He has to go out there and play well.
Scott, how much do you think – because I agree with you, especially the experience that Rattler has. But when you invest the 40th overall pick, a lot of times coaches, organizations will maybe give the benefit of the doubt to the person they have more invested in. So with that considered, how much do you think that they weigh the fact that Shough was the 40th pick of the draft?
I think it's a huge weight. And I think a little bit of it, when you look at it from that perspective, Tyler's been a little bit disappointing. When you look at it from that perspective, you're hoping that when you're drafted that high, he's 26 years old, he's been around a long time, not in the NFL, but maturity-wise, you're hoping as an organization that he would take hold of those reins against Spencer, but he just never did that yet. Now, maybe it'll come along, maybe it'll start to click, and he's just not ready. And I think that's one of the downsides to only doing 3 preseason games. Heck, I know people hate preseason, but back when you had 4 preseason games, there were a lot more reps. You had a lot more training camp reps. You know, I don't want to make an excuse for Tyler. I was hoping he would take those reins and be that guy. And I think a little bit is disappointing that he's not the week 1 starter.
Do you think that Tyler Shough will start this year before the end of the season?
Yo, absolutely, no doubt. I think a better question would be, will he start before mid-October? I think the Saints really have to get out of the gate fast. I think Spencer has to play really well. I think Spencer has to play so well. Listen, Kellen didn't pick Spencer. He inherited him. And so a lot of times when you get to pick your guy in the draft, Tyler's always going to be his guy. He's always going to get the benefit of the doubt. That doesn't mean that Spencer Rattler can't be the franchise quarterback all year, but he's going to have to play really well and not give them any excuse to yank him.
Scott Shanley's with us, former Saint linebacker. Speaking of, boys, really impressive from an untrained eye watching a guy like Danny Stutzman and honestly Jalen Ford, a lot of those young linebackers. Scott, what were your impressions in this preseason watching some of those young guys at the position you used to play?
No, I think you're right talking about that position because Demario, every time we say Demario's getting old, Demario's old, he goes out and he has a 13-tackle game. That was all year last year. I'm like, is Demario getting older? He only had 6 tackles last week, and then he goes and has a great game. But eventually, listen, Father Time's going to come calling, and you need to see growth out of the young linebackers. I think seeing Ford get the interception in the preseason game, Stutzman, there were rave reviews out of camp. He's very active, and he was like that at Oklahoma. He was a tackling machine. He was a captain of their defense. He got everybody lined up, and he plays the game with energy. And I think if those young guys can come along and learn behind two really good veterans in Pete and Demario, they have an opportunity to extend their career, because everybody wants to come in and play. But for me, I was fortunate. I was a late-round pick, but I got to study guys like Dat Wynn. Dat Wynn changed the trajectory of my career, because I got to watch him as a pro and see him study and see him diagnose plays. And if these young guys take advantage of having a guy like Demario in front of them and Pete Werner, they will extend their career and hopefully become starters.
Certainly looks like the future of that position is in good hands. Can't say the same about another former draft pick, Isaiah Foskey. Scott, it's just second-round pick. I mean, you expect those guys to be starters, and Isaiah Foskey over 2 years just could never find a way to make an impact on this team, and today he was cut. I don't think that's a great surprise, but if I asked you, what do you think went wrong with Foskey in New Orleans? Can you put your finger on it?
I think it just comes down to anytime a guy is the all-time sack leader in Notre Dame history, there's so much tradition and so many great players who have gone through there. You kind of think when you're going through your scouting that, hey, this guy should be able to play at the NFL level. It doesn't always correlate. And as odd as that sounds, I think sometimes scouts get caught up in guys going to bigger universities, being productive at those universities, and not really looking at their attributes and is their get off or is their bend going to be good enough to get around offensive tackles in the NFL? Because the tackles that these guys rush against in college are drastically different than the tackles they rush against in the NFL. And I just never saw the athleticism out of Isaiah that he needed to be a good pass rusher in the NFL. So I think it was just a misdiagnosis when it came to scouting, and he was drafted probably way too high.
Hey, Scott, before you go, we've also seen Mickey Loomis make a couple of trades here, and it may not feel like a big deal, but they added Devon Vele. They gave up a couple of future picks. They added today an offensive lineman that they got from Dallas, Asim Richards. They gave up a couple of 28 picks. How do you feel about trading future assets for guys on this year's Saints team when maybe I'm leading a little bit here, but I don't think there's tremendous expectation on this team, and you're giving up future assets for maybe to be marginally better on a team that's not expected to be very good. Just maybe if you would have thought on those decisions and what they're doing to acquire some of these assets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a real big fan of it. Getting rid of assets to really, you're trading for really a lot of backup guys. Outside of Bailey at receiver, they're hoping he'll be a big part of the offense. He's really the only big-bodied receiver they have, and they felt like they needed that. But even that situation, you gave up a bunch of draft capital. You could have signed Amari Cooper to a one-year deal and got through this year. But I think the one thing that's hard to tell Mickey Loomis is that they're not going to win the season. I firmly believe people in that organization, they've won so much since 2006 that they believe every year that they can win. And sometimes those expectations aren't realistic. This year, the schedule is set up for them to win more games than I think people think they'll win. But a lot of it's going to come down when you put that much capital in the offensive line. They better play well. They better be a top 3 or 4 offensive line in the NFL. If they're not, you're going to struggle with the quarterback position and a lot of other things. So I'm not a fan of giving up that much draft capital for backup players.
Vegas has the win total over under 5.5. I'm not sure some of you ever paid attention to when you play. What do you think about that number this year? Over under 5.5. If you think they're going to win more than people think.
You know what? I watch a game, I watch a series, and I'm like, oh man, I go under on that. Then I see somebody come in and do something. I'm like, then I look at the schedule, and I think the schedule is set up to win some games that Vegas probably isn't thinking they'll win. Early on, they have home games. The schedule is not real daunting. There's no Bills, or there is Bills. There's no Ravens, Chiefs, teams like that. So I think they can pull out a couple games. But especially in the NFC South, not the worst division to be in. But they got to stay healthy. That's been the biggest thing with this Saints team the past 4 years. I mean, you cannot win games by having as many starters they have in the training room all year.
Yeah. Last year was a brutal display of that. Standard by which nobody should be judged because of all the injuries a year ago. We'll see how it all turns. Scott Shanle, former Saint Grade Super Bowl champion, has spent a couple of minutes with us. Thanks as always, man.
Yep, no problem.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.